Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Tashana. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. I hope all is well. I am not sure what's happening, but I don't know who dredged this energy up, but the creator said go ahead. Now, usually we don't cover politics, so I'm gonna say this now. I don't do politics. This is definitely something the creator wanted me to just simply pay attention to, okay? Now, in my spirit, I was like hearing ban on fake baby here, ban on fake baby here. I seen a TikTok. Apparently, Chicago is passing a bill where they have banned fake baby here. Now, for the record, a lot of that stuff came up on TikTok. I didn't see anything on their state websites, nothing that legislation had actually passed. And then it reminded me of the Crown Act, right? Of course, we know that is the law that was passed in 2021 in the name of a Jet Hawkins. He was a 4-year-old who was basically marginalized and discriminated against by his preschool because he had dreadlocks. This law was further extended and now applies to the workplace as of earlier this year, right? Then I just started doing some research on a bunch of different bans that were going on, because usually we have states, where these big cities are, like Chicago, California, New York, right? There are a lot of laws that get passed in one state and the other states usually start to follow up with a similar law being written in, right? And then I just started doing some research on Chicago's website on some of the laws that they had passed, and I found some of them to be very interesting. I assumed that the entire country had ended the cash bail. Apparently, it just went into effect in 23. In Chicago, it's the Safety Act, and it's basically highlighting body cams needing to be worn by all law enforcement officers by 2025. More law enforcement training will be happening, and the bill also talks about just how law enforcement is functioning overall. Now, I thought we all were wearing body cams already, so that's crazy that they have to have them by 2025. And then this took me back to us in New Jersey, where we had our bail reform written in, and it was passed in 2014. Now, that bill was passed under Christie, right? And then again, I just started doing a bunch of research. Now, this is in Chicago, okay? They have the Streamline ID of Missing Persons law. This is basically a law that states where medical examiners or coroners must contact the FBI after 72 hours of unidentified remains being in their custody, okay? They passed the no latex glove law for medical personnel and food service workers to not have to have these things while they're working to prevent allergic reactions, right? Obviously, that can result in death. So, of course, we know about Chicago, right? If you know, you know. But a lot of people aren't even aware that Chicago was founded by a Haitian man. Now, we talked about this. We talked about the warfare being in places and how it's a physical manifestation of what's going on in the spirit. We talked about locational astrology, how particular locations carry a particular vibration, and how the founding date affects a lot of the energy that goes into it, meaning the year, the date, and just the overall location, right? We all know that some places are just known for certain things. So John Baptiste Point du Cibole he established Chicago around the 1770s, right? He settled the shores of Lake Michigan, and he traveled from New Orleans via the Mississippi River. Now, this is important because this is a word believed to be translated from one of the Indian tribes, pronounced Chicago, okay, meaning to be a striped skunk or an onion, depending on who you ask, okay? Then I started doing research on New Jersey, right? Like, why am I looking up different laws that are being passed in Chicago and I don't know what's going on in my own state, okay? The first thing that popped up was this bill that was just passed by Governor Murphy, where it prohibits by 2035 the sale of new gas-powered cars, okay? In fact, in 2027, the state will start to limit the sale of new gasoline-powered cars in the state. California passed a very, very similar law already, and this is what I was basically talking about. It's like once California passes these laws, there are actually 17 other states that usually follow suit. I mean, historically, right? I'm not going to get into those 17 states. You can literally Google that. I didn't want to take away from what we were discussing, and I didn't want to just be here naming 17 states, all right? But you can definitely Google those states, but usually it's California that leads in passing these laws, and then some of the few are Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, and Maryland that usually follow up, okay, with passing very similar laws. And this is just historically, okay? And then it got me to thinking about, first of all, we don't do politics here, right? At all. We don't cover politics, but these are social events. There are social factors that will affect us a great deal. And then I started to pay attention how these laws that are being passed are basically a setup for what's to come. Okay, now this law for banning the new gasoline power cars, because it's not excluding us from driving gasoline powered cars in a state. It's in fact encouraging you to go to other states and buy new cars that are gasoline powered. And this is also written in to reduce pollution and plant gases, okay? Gases that are affecting the growth of plants. And if you know, New Jersey is one of those states. We're called the Garden State, but we produce a lot of the produce for the country, okay? So that would make sense why we will want better quality air, right? But then I started looking at this from a spiritual aspect, right? That is what we do here. We don't do politics, we do spirituality. And then I said, okay, now I see what God is doing. I think what the Creator is saying here is to be in alignment, right? But to also pay attention to your environment, right? And to be aware of what's happening. But to just raise your vibration altogether. Because what's happening is we are moving into a place where technology, we know, is taking over. But if you actually pay attention to the laws that are being passed, then you will see that this is kind of like us being forced to pay attention to how we're exploiting the earth. You know, how we have this lack of compassion for our physical environment. Of course, you know, it kind of scares me because we're like being forced to move into, you know, electronics, and of course that can be hijacked and manipulated by any system, right? People can hack into our devices and suddenly our cars and our homes if we just transition over to electronics. But the thing is this, one of the main things I realize is that we need to do our own research, right? And to really know the history of where things are coming from, the root of things. Because I couldn't find a lot of research on this being on baby hairs, but it just sent me on this journey to kind of just start doing research. And of course, you know, that's what I do. But I'm saying, instead of just taking it at face value and not even knowing what it is and just covering the topic, I was forced to actually go on this journey of looking up laws. Now, I don't do that, okay? I'm not into law. I'm not into politics. It's just not my thing. But apparently the creator wanted to cover that, right? That's not what we do. So like I said, I don't know who dredged that up, because I've been talking about what we do discuss here. Get out of here with that. But the creator allowed it, okay? So I actually am happy that I did do some research and we're covering it, because I think the creator wants us to start paying attention to the laws that are being passed. Start paying attention to the bans that are happening, because it appears that it is taking away our rights. And it is, you know, it's stopping us from being able to make certain choices, and it actually reduces the access to the variation in choices that we may have. But what it does do is allow us to align ourselves, because when you're aligned, when you're raising your vibration, a lot of these things don't even affect you, right? It's like, okay, the creator been told me to stop eating meat, so, you know, human DNA found in the food doesn't even really affect me. I've been stopped eating out, so, you know, I don't have to really worry about certain things, right? A lot of these things don't even come nigh your dwelling, and it is encouraging us to start to use our gifts more, right? Start to come in to a better reasoning with your chakras, right? You have to start using your chakras more, because you're forced to see what's coming, what's ahead of you. You're forced to pay attention to that, okay? Obviously, we know we're moving into these futuristic technological AI, you know, times, but what's gonna happen when those things are not working, right? The vibration of the earth, of the environment, of the ethers are asking you what happens, right? Why are these laws being passed? I mean, even with the banning of gas stoves, and I looked that up, it was saying, you know, the state isn't necessarily banning the gas stoves, but it is incentivizing electric companies to, you know, push the use of more electrical items on us, like our stoves and, you know, just our different appliances, and how we're going to be heating our homes and things like that. So pay attention to the laws that are being passed and how it affects you, and how it's pushing us to raise our vibration, and how it's the earth demanding to stop being exploited. But I'm going to end it here. I do love y'all. Hope y'all are drinking y'all fruit, y'all water, and eating y'all fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your tea. Love you.